specifically for women and South Asian women. The one thing that I took away from you was that if you realize that you have some sort of a health issue, don't wait.
Can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Oh, I have the sound system here. Where is that?
No sound.
There's no sound?
No sound.
It's good to know. But आपकी introduction will be.
अच्छा
वो डायबिटीज के लेक्चर के बाद में
Exercise constantly good. Yeah, the sound is a little tricky today, but there he is. There he is.
Okay, that's good.
All right, are you just going to stay stuck to that sound system? Thank you. Our next speaker is a powerhouse of tremendous knowledge and energy. You saw her energy, right? She just can't sit still. I now have had the pleasure of knowing Farha for a few years, and so proud to have this opportunity to actually hear her speak. Dr. Farha Abbasi is, I need glasses that I still want to get to. All right. Dr. Farha Abbasi is an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry at Michigan State University and core faculty member of the Muslim Studies program. Her areas of interest and cultural psychiatry are cultural psychiatry and teaching medical students on how to provide them a culturally appropriate care to Muslim patients. She works directly with the Muslim American community to encourage integration rather than isolation from mainstream society. She is the founding director of the annual Muslim Mental Health Conference. Everybody, please put your hands together for Dr. Farha Abbasi. Everybody, it's quite important for us to listen to these presenters. They've made the effort to come from out of state, and the presentations are extremely useful to us. So please stay in the hall, stay quiet, and I'm going to go outside. And if you could just kindly ask any one of our board members if they could go outside. There's a lot of noise coming in from the outside. If you could tell them to just be a little respectful of the presentations that are going on in here.
Assalamu alaikum. So thank you so much talking about the mental health and relationship to diabetes, because the other side of it is that people with mental health concerns or illnesses are more prone to high cholesterol, diabetes, and hypertension. And the correlation is so deep and severe that those who have high cholesterol, diabetes, hypertension, their depression becomes very resistant to treatment. So the thing that I think we do this service is when we create this duality that physical or mental health are two separate things. They are very interconnected, interdependent. So thank you for making that point. It's my job now to talk about a very, very sensitive and hard topic, which is domestic or intimate partner violence. I loved what you guys said, that success, every woman's success is response. What's it?
Should be an inspiration for another.
Right. I think every woman's safety and security is the responsibility of every woman and man in the community. I will start with that. Because I think domestic or intimate partner violence is a moral, ethical, social failure. And The shame, the stigma, the secrecy keeps it so shrouded and hidden. And we have normalized it so much in name of religion and culture, and that's where our work starts. We really need to unravel. We really need to create safe spaces, because when these stories are told in safe spaces, they become personal narratives. They are not anymore gossip or scandals that we talk about. So, it's kind of showing 2 slides at a time. So what is intimate partner violence or domestic violence? Violence that occurs within private sphere, generally between individuals who are related through intimacy, blood, or love. So it could be a relationship, it could be your blood relatives, or it could be through law. It is a gender-specific crime, and it could be abuse of a child or an elder as well. We are seeing that a lot. I'm a geriatric psychiatrist, I see that a lot, that we also see abuse of elder. It is a form of control, form of oppression. It could be verbal, mental, physical, sexual, emotional, social, economic, and spiritual. We are seeing that even within faith communities, this abuse is happening on the hands of faith leaders. Oh, okay. Okay. It can happen to anyone. It transcends race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, education level. It is happening everywhere and can happen to anyone. Can happen at home or outside the home. And it can cause fear and harm to body, mind, and spirit. I know a lot of time we hear this, that why do we only talk about domestic violence against women? Yes, men could be victim of it too. We need to identify, but the numbers are that usually women outnumber the abuse victims rather than men. This is the point that concerns me. We think we are aware, we think we know, but whatever numbers you are seeing, it's still tip of the iceberg. It's still underreported. Why? Because a lot of time, most of us don't identify it, or those of us who do identify it don't want to acknowledge it, don't want to access help. So it's not visible. And I say this again and again, for us to make anything viable, visibility has to be there. Another concern that I have, because I do Muslim mental health work, and when I talk of domestic violence or intimate partner violence, it's automatically assumed that the Muslim men are doing that to Muslim women, right? And this is where I think the work is not only within the community, but outside the community as well. So for those who don't belong to Muslim community, let me tell you that the numbers are very comparable. They are very comparable. The prevalence rate is same in a Western society versus a faith-based community. So it's not only a moment of concern for those who are not Muslim, but those who are within the community. Please know that your faith and culture does not protect you from abuse. It does. If you follow the religion, it would, but we do not follow it, and we disguise it in the name of culture and normalize it. So the numbers are very similar and prevalent. But what happens is when I present, the concern that I have is this Western concept of feminism, where the Muslim woman has to be delivered from this brutal, aggressive, angry Muslim man. So, on one hand, we have to dispel that, but on the other hand, the work has to be continued within the community. One thing I would like to talk about, and as we go further, that American woman did not get identified as person or individual till just a couple of 100 years ago. While what Islam changed, Muslim women were born with an identity. You were given a personhood from the day you were born. And the American woman did not get that till few years ago. Even the voting rights, the Muslim woman had the voting right from day one, and the American woman did not get it till recent years. Islam recognized women's full personhood, prohibited female infanticide, gave women right to own property, right to her own identity, and right to divorce. And mind you, divorce was not only granted to you on basis of irreconcilable differences. You could claim divorce because you were no more in love with your husband. So divorce could be granted. Divorce was your right. You could take divorce. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with this. We have made divorce such a stigma and shame, but Prophet's own 2 daughters went through divorce. Yes. Because when Islam came, 2 of his daughters' husband refused to convert to Islam, and the daughters asked for divorce. So they got remarried to them Muslims. On August 18, 1920, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was finally ratified, enfranchising all American women and declaring for the first time that they, like men, deserve all the rights and responsibilities of citizenship. Let me underline that, 1920. In Islam, this is what really gets to me, empowers me. In Islam, the word used most to describe God, the highest and the most exalted being in existence, are intrinsically feminine. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Rahim, Rahman, Rahim. Rahim is uterus. So if he is Rahman, who is he empowering with that mercy and this power? Woman. If he's the creator, who is given the power to create? The word is deeply associated with femininity, motherhood, and quite literally the anatomy of female body. So if when I started learning about my religion, not just from perspective of, because a lot of our interpretation, Arabic interpretation have been done by male counterparts, right? Now we have females doing this work. And I would highly recommend you guys to read the translation of Laila Bakhtiyari. She just passed away. She came to the conference too, Laila Bakhtiyari. So a lot of that I have borrowed from her lectures. So if now when I look back, really, we were the center. Women were supposed to be the center, and men were created to support and nurture us. Because we were doing the job of procreation. And in order for us to establish that act of procreation, we were given hormones. We were given certain body types, which now is being used against us that they are too emotional. They are too sensitive. But if we were not emotional, we were not sensitive, how would we go on and create another life? So, men were never told to control us. And that's what I'm gonna use the Quranic verses to tell you about that. God's guidance through the Quran always is addressed to his believers. dressed equally. Both are required to follow the same laws. Both must live by the same standards. ये नहीं है कि बेटे आप कुछ भी कर लो, घर आके किसी कजन से शादी कर लो, बस सब खैरियत है, और बेटियां जो है उनको कंट्रोल कर लो. No, both have to follow the same laws of. अभी मैंने रिसेंटली पढ़ा, एक हमारे स्कॉलर हैं जिनको वैसे मैं बड़ा रिस्पेक्ट करती थी, उन्होंने कहा ये जो डीपी प्रोफाइल्स लगा रही हैं वुमेन गैर महरम के सामने, दे आर शोइंग देयर हेयर, हैंड्स एंड वो, ये सब जहन्नम में जाएंगी. और मैंने उनसे कहा कि वो सोचा मैंने कि जो आप देख रहे हैं उनका क्या होगा. Both are addressed equally, both are required to follow the same laws, both must live by the same standards. If the Quran is God's word and God addresses both men and women equally, then both are same in the eyes of God. ये जो बातें हम सुनते हैं ना कि जन्नत भरी हुई होगी आदमियों से, प्लीज जरा घर जाके जरा आदमियों को समझाते हैं ऐसा नहीं. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. To whoever, male or female, does good deeds, has faith, he shall give a good life, reward them accordingly to best of their actions. Now, Umar Sulaiman, one of my favorite imams, he says, kiss, keep it simple sunnah. Whatever is confusing and complicating in the Quranic verses, just look at the Prophet's life. And a lot of things would simplify. Just see and follow what he's doing. And what do we see? He's surrounded by strong women. He's raising strong women. He's raising women leaders. He's supporting women leaders. Who's the first Muslim in Islam? Tell me. He had so many followers. Why does he turn towards his wife? So the first Muslim is a woman. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, 7th century, said that the pursuit of knowledge is obligatory on every Muslim, male and female. और कहीं कुरान में ये नहीं लिखा हुआ कि शादी हो जाए, बच्चे हो जाए तो पढ़ाई छोड़ देना. You are supposed to live to your potential, man and woman. Heaven lies under the feet of your mother. अब देखें किस तरह औरत को सेलिब्रेट किया जा रहा है. क्यों बाप के पैरों में नहीं रखी जाना था. You know what I read and I was surprised that Prophet used to celebrate the birth of a daughter. बार बार कहा गया कि बेटी अगर तुम्हारे घर आए, if I'm happy with you, I will give you one daughter. Hazrat Ibrahim को कहा गया. And Hazrat Ibrahim ने कहा, if you are more happy with me, I'll give you 2 daughters. And if you are more happy with me, then I'll give you 3 daughters. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, some of us have 3 daughters here. Not only that, one of the wives, Baraka, was appointed imam. There was no segregation. That's why, even till today, Khana Kaaba has no segregation of men and women praying separately. Just next door, the Wailing Wall has segregation of men and women. But Khana Kaaba doesn't have the segregation. Oh, okay, it's very important. I'll bring it. Now let's talk about the rights of women in Islam.
The slide with me.
Okay. Khadija? Khadija, I think is go ahead. Khadija, who was also the first Muslim in Islam, was the CEO of Makkah's largest and most successful trading company at that time. She proposed to Muhammad ﷺ at that time and was 15 years older, a single mother, twice widowed, and remained his boss, defined the social standards of her time. Ye hai aapke Prophet. नहीं मेरे ख्याल से हमने वो क्लीन अप का मिस कर दिया. या ये इसको लाइन से अच्छा ये देखिए. This is the most powerful. This is from Islamic legislature जो मैंने किया. that a woman is free to require her husband to sign a prenuptial agreement. That prenup not only includes any money she will receive in the event of a divorce, but also contains any Islamic right she wishes to enforce for herself. Right to divorce, right to keep custody of her children. Custody of her children. The biggest problem that we are seeing right now. She wishes to enforce, the right to keep custody of her children if there is a divorce, the right to continue her education, right to work, right to wear a head covering or not to wear a head covering. The right to be the one and only wife. Let me repeat that. Agar first wife tells you you cannot have two wives, then you cannot have two wives. Forbidding her husband to take any other wife while he's married to her or whatever issue concerns her. Next. Next, we have covered this. Also, the problems that we are seeing now being done in the name of Islam actually predated Islam. There's all this thing that we now hear, honor killing and female genital mutilation, these predate Islam. These were not encouraged. These were prohibited after Islam came. Women prayed in mosque, unsegregated from men, were involved in hadith transmission. Who's your biggest historian? Aisha. Gave sanctuary to men, engaged in commercial transactions, were encouraged to seek knowledge, were both instructors and pupils in early Islamic period. Now this is very important, Surah Nisa agar isko aap. Ye hai wo ayah, the verse of Quran that people use and abuse to hit women. So I really wanted you to have an understanding of that. Next Surah Nisa. Yeah, next. Is good, okay? Yeah. So it's Surah Nisa. Let me read it and then we will talk about translation. Men are protectors and maintainers of women. Lord meaning, they are not your lords. They are maintainers of women. Because Allah has given the one more strength than the other, because they support them from their means. Therefore, the righteous women are devoutly obedient and guard in their husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. As to those women whose part you fear disloyalty and ill conduct, admonish them first, next refuse to share their beds, and last them strike them lightly. But if they return to obedience, seek not against them means of alliance, for Allah is the great. Now, just visualize this. A role for woman was created, right? Procreation. So, Assalamu thank you for joining us. So, a role was created for woman to procreate, so she was made soft, sensitive, she was given those hormones. A role was created for men to protect and nurture her while she's procreating. So he was given the strength, right? So, when you are the just, you are the Rahim, and you have identified roles for two genders, how can you tell them to hit? So what is happening here? First of all, the thing is, if you fear, not suspicion, not on basis of suspicion, but if you really think that your wife is cheating and is compromising your honor, then the first thing they are told is to leave, walk away. Because they understand you have the strength. You can, if you hit them, you're gonna hurt them. So first thing you are told, and even till today, in psychotherapy, in anger management, we tell men to walk away, right? Women to disengage and walk away. So that's what Quran said, walk away. But then you still think that she's not listening, she's compromising you. Then they say, hit her lightly with a feather, that it should not leave a mark because you're trying to convey your anger. But That's where most of the alam question that translation. And I'll tell you what they say. Quranic verse to justify male dominance is the 34th ayah in Surah Nisa, which is most commonly interpreted as men are protectors and maintainers, which is literally Qawaman. Other possible interpretation could be advisors. So इनका तो बड़ा supportive role है, central to women है. Advisor, providers of guidance of women, because other possible interpretation, they are superior to them. Other possible have a feature that other lacks, because so basically they are saying it's about their physical strength. Can we go to the other? So it prescribes a step-by-step process for husband to address a wife's behavior if she's acting in a manner that would threaten the integrity of family unit, such as promiscuous behavior. इसलिए नहीं कि आज खाने में नमक ज़्यादा पड़ गया, या आज तुमने मेरी माँ से बदतमीजी की और इसलिए मेरा हक है तुम्हें थप्पड़ मारने का. The Arabic word that has often been translated as beat her also has many other meanings, such as leave her. Scholars who chose the translation of beat emphasize that it is symbolic and leave no mark or injury. These scholars suggest that the husband might use the equivalent of a tissue or a blade of grass to make his point. To make his point, not to physically hurt her. Abusers may take this verse out of context and forget the multiple teachings that emphasize equity and mutual compassion and respect in marital relationship. और उसी सूरह निसा में आगे जाके कहा गया है कि अपनी बीवियों का ख्याल करो. मैं आपको वो वर्स अभी बताती हूँ, पर जाहिर है हम वो क्यों पढ़ेंगे, हमने तो यही काफी है ना. It serves our purpose. So can we go forward? ये सूरह निसा का आगे next verse है. O believers, treat women with kindness even if you dislike them. It is quite possible that you dislike something which Allah might yet make a source of abundant good. कैसे कुरान ये नहीं कर सकता कि एक में बोले थप्पड़ मारो और दूसरे में बोले बी काइंड? नॉट पॉसिबल. जो एक औरत को वो मुकाम दे रहा है प्रोक्रिएशन का, हाउ कैन वी से कि अल्लाह जस्ट और रहीम कहेगा मारो? सो वी हैव टू वॉक अवे फ्रॉम दैट ट्रांसलेशन. ओके. Marriage in the Islamic context is a mean of tranquility, protection, peace and comfort. और अगर इसमें से कोई condition पूरी नहीं हो रही, you have right to ask for a divorce. Among his sign, he created for you mates from among yourself that you may dwell in tranquility with them. He has put love and mercy, Rahim, Rahman, all the time. These are the constructs that our marriage should be based on. Verily in that are signs for those who reflect. And reflect we must. Next. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, now again prophet, condemns violence against women by saying how loathsome, ajib it is that one of you should hit his wife as a slave and then sleep with her at the end of the day. Domestic violence is also addressed under the concept of harm in Islamic legislature. Husband's failure to provide obligatory financial support for his wife, a long absence of the husband from home, husband's inability to fulfill his wife's sexual needs, or any mistreatment of wife's family members. We have made it a source of fun and humor to mistreat your in-laws. And imagine how many rights. And Islam allows an abused wife to claim compensation under ta'zeer, corporal punishment. Yes. Leaving an abusive partner is not easy. Or Hamari communities in our society, we have made marriages the responsibility of women. We have made raising kids the responsibility of mothers. We have put everything on a woman's shoulder. Even if your man is cheating, so what? Even if your man hit you once, so what? continue the marriage. He's the father of your kids, you have to continue. मैं आपको आज एक और बात बताती हूँ, and I'm going to talk about it. But imagine that now that we study mental health during pregnancy and how it affects your child, the day your fetus is conceived, your level of stress is directly impacting your fetus. हमारा जो cortisol हार्मोन है, जिसकी वजह से फिर हम later on life में जाके diabetes develop होती है, it is impacting you and it's impacting your child from the day when a child is conceived. तो पहले तो ऑटोमेटिकली आप पे ये प्रेशर आ गया कि बेटा है या नहीं प्रेगनेंसी के बाद, फिर प्रेशर ये आ गया कि कोई बात नहीं है, everybody gets pregnant, what's the big deal, continue everything. And here in this country, when you have career also and you're trying to manage households also, your child is being affected from the day one they are conceived. So the mental health of the mother has to be taken care of the day she's pregnant. Okay? But unfortunately, another thing, if you are carrying a female fetus, it not only affects them, their brains but it can affect their hormones, their ability tomorrow to have obesity and have infertility increases. So another thing, correlation with diabetes, what I realized, the childhood trauma. So जो कहते हैं ना कि broken marriages नहीं होनी चाहिए and stay in an abusive relationship, this is considered a childhood trauma, and those who are exposed to childhood trauma, they get addicted to sugar. And if there is an adverse childhood experiences survey, 1 to 10, and if you are scoring 4 to 5, जो अभी तक हमारी community में reproduce नहीं हुआ है, but if you are scoring 4 to 5 on that adverse childhood experience survey, chances are your life is pre-shortened by 10 to 15 years. You will go on to develop depression, you will go on to develop diabetes, hypertension, and high cholesterol. So, leaving an abusive partner is a very difficult thing to do. It frequently feels like you are failing, destroying your family, not trying to work things out, not giving your partner a second chance. And I will tell you why that thinking is dangerous. We can go. This is very typical pattern. So there's a tension building phase, किसी चीज़ पे trigger हुए, then the incident happened. After the incidents, they will become very sweet, they will buy you gifts, they will be very sorry, they will take extra care of you, and you will be saying, oh, maybe something. And constantly, you start believing that it is what I am doing that's triggering it. It's something wrong with me that is triggering it. And then the honeymoon phase ends, then tension, then abuse. The pattern will not end until unless, maybe, if they seek treatment. Another thing that we are dealing with, COVID-19 global crisis has made starkly visible the fact that the world's formal economies and maintenance of daily lives are built on the invisible, unpaid labor of the woman. Puri world, we saw in COVID-19 this unpaid labor, childcare, teaching, cooking at home, everything is being run on women's unpaid labor. We also saw that in COVID-19, violence against women and girls increased globally to the point that WHO called it a global pandemic. Crowded homes, substance abuse, limited access to services, reduced peer support were all causes. And before pandemic, we estimated 1 in 3 women, but many of these women are now trapped in their homes with the abuser, so the rates almost quadrupled. So we can go forward. This is what I think Council General and Mrs. Council General that we are concerned about. Pakistan ranks as the 6th most dangerous country in the world for women, with cases of sexual crimes, domestic violence recording a sharp increase. Violence A study finds the home is the most dangerous location for women in Pakistan. Violence by an intimate partner or in-laws or siblings were the most common form of violence. Economic, social, I think this is important. Okay, I will tell. This is just rough numbers. 15,000 cases of honor crime, 1,800 cases of domestic violence, 5,500 kidnapping of women, then 51,000 cases of violence against women. This is what concerns me. 50,000 women are killed per year, or others are disabled or maimed. And these are the reported cases. So we know that it might be America, it might be Pakistan or any other society. We still are living in patriarchal societies, we still have gender equality, and most victims of violence have no legal recourse, law informants. Yet, I mean, I can go forward. I think we all talk about it enough. This is what I usually tell our victims, or I don't like to call them victims, I call them warriors. So this is how we empower our warriors, that call helpline, talk to community members, have a safety plan, talk to someone you trust. But who can they trust within their own community? Are we ready to be that support? Are we ready to be allies? Are we ready to be peers? Women experience domestic abuse are more likely to experience depression, anxiety, PTSD, substance abuse, suicide, obesity, hypertension, diabetes, you name it. Unfortunately, those already suffering from mental health become more victim. We can go forward. I know it's a hard topic, but this is why I want to talk about this. Domestic violence does not end with you. It will go on to impact your next generations. So when you make this decision, understand that. Hurt men. Exposure to domestic violence and abuse hurt children's self-esteem. They may not participate in school activities, they tend to isolate, difficulty making friends, get into trouble more often, and they can have a lot of somatic symptoms as well. So it's not only, you are not only saving yourself, you're saving the next generation. And I don't think it's one thing that is causing this domestic violence. I think it is oppression, it is patriarchy, it is colonialism, it's racism, heterosexism, capitalism, but what we as faith community needs to guard against, that our religion and our culture is not being used to shroud this calamity in our community. We have to stop being silent, and we have to stop shaming people women who do stand up and get out of these situations. So thank you.
Thank you very much.